friends, and welcome back to another episode of Java with Jesus. It's episode 113 today, and we are still in the book of Job, and we do have 9 chapters to read today. The devotional is making us work for it to get through Job's story, which admittedly is pretty sad and devastating and kind of depressing. So, we're reading a bunch of chapters at the same time so that we get through it a little faster, I think. Shout out to the devotional book for that. It's Friday. End of the work week for everybody, into the weekend for a lot of us. Some of us have to work this weekend. I myself do as well, but that's okay. It's okay. No worries. Yeah. And no ramblings today because even though I'm kind of rambling, you know what? It's fine. We're just going to get into it. We have 9 chapters to read. Okay. All right, let's go. Grab your Javas, grab your tea, grab your whatever. If you need a mimosa, no judgments, guys. The Job is a rough one. All right. It's a rough one. Episode 113. I'm innocent, I tell you. Imagine that you've been framed for a crime. You feel frantic because no one believes your story. You're embarrassed because your name has been muddied. Despite your frustration and gloom, you decide not to give up and determine to fight harder. In trying to explain why Job is suffering, his friends have falsely accused him of sinning. Job has denied that this is true, but the friends don't believe that Job is innocent. There is too much circumstantial evidence against him. Job isn't ready to give in yet, so he digs in his heels and defends his innocence. I mean, for those of you who don't know or just joining us, Job right now is like, his wife doesn't love him anymore. Basically, all of his kids are dead. A building collapsed on them. And all of his cattle and sheep and camels are all gone. And all of his servants, except for 2 or 3, have been killed. And he's sick now. He's got I don't know, boils or whatever all over his skin. He's a mess. So his friends are like, yeah, okay, sure you didn't sin. Then why is all this happening to you? It's a big debacle. Is Job innocent? Judge for yourself and learn from his defense. See these other lessons as well. Being careful in applying God's commands and moral standards to others, showing compassion rather than giving advice, and attacking others. Today's reading will be Job 22 through 31. I feel like we're reading a lot of chapters, but they are going rather quickly. So, a lot of talking. Job 22. Eliphaz accuses and exhorts Job. Then Eliphaz the Temanite responded, Can a vigorous man be of use to God, or a wise man be useful to himself? Is there any pleasure to the Almighty if you are righteous, or profit if you make your ways perfect? Is it because of your reverence that he reproves you, that he enters into judgment against you? Is not your wickedness great, and your iniquities without end? For you have taken pledges of your brothers without cause, and stripped men naked. To the weary you have given no water to drink, and from the hungry you have withheld bread. But the earth belongs to the mighty man, and the honorable man dwells in it. You have sent widows away empty, and the strength of the orphans has been crushed. Therefore, snares surround you, and sudden dread terrifies you, or darkness so that you cannot see, and an abundance of water covers you. Is not God in the height of heaven? Look also at the distant stars, how high they are. You say, what does God know? Can he judge through the thick darkness? Clouds are a hiding place for him so that he cannot see, and he walks on the vault of heaven. Will you keep to the ancient path which wicked men have trod, who were snatched away before their time, whose foundations were washed away by a river? They said to God, Depart from us. And what can the Almighty do to them? Yet he filled their houses with good things. But the counsel of the wicked is far from me. The righteous see and are glad, and the innocent mock them, saying, Truly our adversaries are cut off, and their abundance the fire has consumed. Yield now and be at peace with him. Thereby good will come to you. Please receive instruction from his mouth, and establish his words in your heart. If you return to the Almighty, you will be restored. If you remove unrighteousness far from your tent, and place your gold in the dust, and the gold of Ophir among the stones of the brooks, then the Almighty will be your gold and choice silver to you. For then you will delight in the Almighty, and lift up your face to God. You will pray to him, and he will hear you, and you will pay your vows. You will also decree a thing, and it will be established for you, and light will shine on your ways. When you are cast down, you will speak with confidence, and the humble person he will save. He will deliver one who is not innocent, and he will be delivered through the and he will be delivered through the cleanness of your hands. Job 23. Job says he longs for God. Then Job replied, "Even today my complaint is rebellion. His hand is heavy despite my groaning. Oh, that I knew where I might find him, that I might come to his seat. I would present my case before him and fill my mouth with arguments. I would learn the words which he would answer, and perceive what he would say to me. Would he contend with me by the greatness of his power? No, surely he would pay attention to me. There the upright would reason with him, and I would be delivered forever from my judge. Behold, I go forward, but he is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive him. When he acts on the left, I cannot behold him. He turns on the right, I cannot see him. But he knows the way I take. When he has tried me, I shall come forth as gold. My foot has held fast to his path. I have kept his way and not turned aside. I have not departed from the command of his lips. I have treasured the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. But he is unique, and who can turn him? And what his soul desires that he does. For he performs what is appointed for me, and many such decrees are with him. Therefore I would be dismayed at his presence. When I consider, I am terrified of him. It is God who has made my heart faint, and the Almighty who has dismayed me. But I am not silenced by the darkness, nor deep gloom which covers me. This is very interesting because, the beginning of this book started with us being told that Satan was the one that was like, hey, bet you can't make this guy hate you, that kind of thing or whatever. How do we know that? Who's writing this book? I have questions. I have questions. They may not have answers. I don't know. Job 24. Job says God seems to ignore wrongs. Why are times not stored up by the Almighty? And why do those who know him not see his days? Some remove the landmarks. They seize and devour flocks. They drive away the donkeys of the orphans. They take the widow's ox for a pledge. They push the needy aside from the road. The poor of the land are made to hide themselves together. Behold, as wild donkeys in the wilderness, they go forth seeking food in their activity, as bread for their children in the desert. They harvest their fodder in the field and glean the vineyard of the wicked. They spend the night naked without clothing and have no covering against the cold. They are wet with the mountain rains and hug the rock for want of a shelter. Others snatch the orphan from the breast, and against the poor they take a pledge. They cause the poor to go about naked without clothing, and they take away the sheaves from the hungry. Within the walls they produce oil. They tread wine presses but thirst. From the city men groan, and the souls of the wounded cry out, yet God does not pay attention to folly. Others have been with those who rebel against the light. They do not want to know its ways nor abide in its paths. The murderer arises at dawn. He kills the poor and the needy, and at night he is as a thief. The eye of the adulterer waits for the twilight, saying, no eye will see me, and he disguises his face. In the dark they dig into houses. They shut themselves up by day. They do not know the light. For the morning is the same to him as a thick darkness, for he is familiar with the terrors of thick darkness. They are insignificant on the surface of the water. Their portion is cursed on the earth. They do not turn toward the vineyards. Drought and heat consume the snow waters. So does Sheol those who have sinned. A mother will forget him. The worm feeds sweetly till he is no longer remembered, and wickedness will be broken like a tree. He wrongs the barren woman and does no good for the widow, but he drags off the valiant by his power. He rises, but no one has assurance of life. He provides them with security, and they are supported, and his eyes are on their ways. They are exalted a little while, then they are gone. Moreover, they are brought low, and like everything gathered up. Even like the heads of grain, they are cut off. Now, if it is not so, who can prove me a liar and make my speech worthless? Job 25. Bildad says man is inferior. Then Bildad the Shuhite answered, dominion and awe belong to him who establishes peace in his heights. Is there any number to his troops? And upon whom does his light not rise? How then can a man be just with God? Or how can he be clean who is born of woman? If even the moon has no brightness, and the stars are not pure in his sight, how much less man that maggot, and the son of man that worm? Job 26. Job rebukes Bildad. Then Job responded, What a help you are to the weak! How you have saved the arm without strength! What counsel you have given to one without wisdom! What helpful insight you have abundantly provided! To whom have you uttered words, and whose spirit was expressed through you? The departed spirits tremble under their waters and their inhabitants. Naked is Sheol before him, and Abaddon has no covering. He stretches out the north over empty space and hangs the earth on nothing. He wraps up the waters in his clouds, and the cloud does not burst under them. He obscures the face of the full moon and spreads his cloud over it. He has inscribed a circle on the surface of the waters, at the boundary of light and darkness. The pillars of heaven tremble and are amazed at his rebuke. He quieted the sea with his power, and by his understanding he shattered Rahab. By his breath the heavens are cleared. His hand has pierced the fleeing serpent. Behold, these are the fringes of his ways. And how faint a word we hear of him. But his mighty thunder, who can understand? Job 27. Job affirms his righteousness. Then Job continued his discourse and said, As God lives, who has taken away my right, and the Almighty, who has embittered my soul, for as long as life is in me, and the breath of God is in my nostrils, my lips certainly will not speak unjustly, nor will my tongue mutter deceit. Far be it from me that I should declare you right. Till I die, I will not put away my integrity from me. I hold fast my righteousness and will not let it go. My heart does not reproach any of my days. May my enemy be as the wicked, and my opponent as the unjust. I'm going to poke your eye out. For what is the hope of the godless when he is cut off, when God requires his life? Will God hear his cry when distress comes upon him? Will he take delight in the Almighty? Will he call on God at all times? I will instruct you in the power of God. What is with the Almighty I will not conceal. Behold, all of you have seen it. Why then do you act foolishly? This is the portion of a wicked man from God, and the inheritance which tyrants receive from the Almighty. Though his sons are many, they are destined for the sword, and his descendants will not be satisfied with bread. His survivors will be buried because of the plague, and their widows will not be able to weep. Though he piles up silver like dust and prepares garments as plentiful as the clay, he may prepare it, but the just will wear it, and the innocent will divide the silver. He has built his house like the spider's web, or as a hut which the watchman has made. He lies down rich, but never again. He opens his eyes, and it is no longer. Terrors overtake him like a flood. A tempest steals him away in the night. The east wind carries him away, and he is gone. Come on, buddy, what are you doing? Taking your time over here. For it whirls him away from his place. For it will hurl at him without sparing. He will surely try to flee from its power. Men will clap their hands at him and will hiss him from his place. Job 28. Job tells of earth's treasures. Surely there is a mine for silver and a place where they refine gold. Iron is taken from the dust, and copper is smelted from rock. Man puts an end to darkness, and to the farthest limit he searches out, the rock in gloom and deep shadow. He sinks a shaft far from the habitation, forgotten by the foot. They hang and swing to and fro far from men. The earth, from it comes food, and underneath it is turned up as fire. Its rocks are the source of sapphires, and its dust contains gold. The path no bird of prey knows, nor has the falcon's eye caught sight of it. The proud beasts have not trodden it, nor has the fierce lion passed over it. He puts his hand on the flint. He overturns the mountains at the base. He hews out channels through the rocks, and his eye sees anything precious. He dams up the streams from flowing, and what is hidden he brings out to the light. But where can wisdom be found, and where is the place of understanding? Man does not know its value, nor is it found in the land of the living. The deep says, "It is not in me," and the sea says, "It is not with me." Pure gold cannot be given in exchange for it, nor can silver be weighed as its price. It cannot be valued in the gold of Ophir, in precious onyx or sapphire. Gold or glass cannot equal it, nor can it be exchanged for articles of fine gold. Coral and crystal are not to be mentioned, and the acquisition of wisdom is above that of pearls. The topaz of Ethiopia cannot equal it, nor can it be valued in pure gold. Where then does wisdom come from, and where is the place of understanding? Thus it is hidden from the eyes of all living, and concealed from the birds of the sky. Abaddon and Death say, with our ears we have heard a report of it. God understands its way, and he knows its place, for he looks to the ends of the earth and sees everything under the heavens. When he imparted weight to the wind and meted out the waters by measure, when he set a limit for the rain and a course for the thunderbolt, then he saw it and declared it. He established it and also searched it out. And to man he said, behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. Job 29, Job's past was glorious. And Job again took up his discourse and said, oh, that I were as in months gone by, as in the days when God watched over me, when his lamp shone over my head, and by his light I walked through darkness. As I was in the prime of my days, when the friendship of God was over my tent, when the Almighty was yet with me, and my children were around me, when my steps were bathed in butter, and the rock poured out for me streams of oil, when I went out to the gate of the city, when I took my seat in the square, the young men saw me and hid themselves, and the old men arose and stood. The princes stopped talking and put their hands on their mouths. The voice of the nobles was hushed, and their tongue stuck to their palate. For when the ear heard, it called me blessed, and when the eye saw, it gave witness of me. Because I delivered the poor who cried for help, and the orphan who had no helper. The blessing of the one ready to perish came upon me, and I made the widow's heart sing for joy. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My justice was like a robe and a turban. I was eyes to the blind and feet to the lame. I was a father to the needy, and I investigated the case which I did not know. I broke the jaws of the wicked and snatched the prey from his teeth. Then I thought, I shall die in my nest, and I shall multiply my days as the sand. My root is spread out to the waters, and dew lies all night on my branch. My glory is ever new with me, and my bow is renewed in my hand. To me they listened and waited, and kept silent for my counsel. After my words they did not speak again, and my speech dropped on them. They waited for me as for the rain, and opened their mouth as for the spring rain. I smiled on them when they did not believe, and the light of my face they did not cast down. I chose a way for them and sat as chief, and dwelt as a king among the troops, as one who comforted the mourners. Job 30. Job's present state is humiliating. It really is, poor Job. But now those younger than I mock me, whose fathers I disdained to put with the dogs of my flock. Indeed, what good was the strength of their hands to me? Vigor had perished from them. From want and famine they are gaunt, who gnaw the dry ground by night in waste and desolation, who pluck mallow by the bushes, and whose food is the root of the broom shrub. They are driven from the community, they shout against them as against a thief, so that they dwell in dreadful valleys, in holes of the earth and of the rocks. Among the bushes they cry out, under the nettles they are gathered together. Fools, even those without a name, they were scourged from the land. And now I have become their taunt, I have even become a byword to them. They abhor me and stand aloof from me, and they do not refrain from spitting at my face. Because he has loosed his bowstring and afflicted me, they have cast off the bridle before me. On the right hand their brood arises. They thrust aside my feet and build up against me their ways of destruction. They break up my path. They profit from my destruction. No one restrains them. As through a wide breach they come. Amid the tempest they roll on. Terrors are turned against me. They pursue my honor as the wind, and my prosperity has passed away like a cloud. And now my soul is poured out within me. Days of affliction have seized me. At night it pierces my bones within me, and my gnawing pains take no rest. By a great force my garment is distorted. It binds me about as the collar of my coat. He has cast me into the mire, and I have become like dust and ashes. I cry out to you for help, but you do not answer me. I stand up and you turn your attention against me. You have become cruel to me. With the might of your hand, you persecute me. You lift me up to the wind and cause me to ride, and you dissolve me in a storm. For I know that you will bring me to death and to the house of meeting for all living. Yet does not one in a heap of ruins stretch out his hand, or in his disaster therefore cry out for help? Have I not wept for the one whose life is hard? Was not my soul grieved for the needy? When I expected good, then evil came. When I waited for light, then darkness came. I am seething within and cannot relax. Days of affliction confront me. I go about mourning without comfort. I stand up in the assembly and cry out for help. I have become a brother to jackals and a companion of ostriches. My skin turns black on me, and my bones burn with fever. Therefore my harp is turned to mourning, and my flute to the sound of those who weep. Job 31. Job asserts his integrity. I have made a covenant with my eyes. How then could I gaze at a virgin? And what is the portion of God from above, or the heritage of the Almighty from on high? Is it not calamity to the unjust and disaster to those who work iniquity? Does he not see my ways and number all my steps? If I have walked with falsehood and my foot has hastened after deceit, let him weigh me with accurate scales, and let God know my integrity. If my step has turned from the way, or my heart followed my eyes, or if any spot has stuck to my hands, let me sow and another eat, and let my crops be uprooted. If my heart has been enticed by a woman, or I have lurked at my neighbor's doorway, may my wife grind for another, and let others kneel down over her, for that would be a lustful crime. Moreover, it would be an iniquity punishable by judges, for it would be fire that consumes to Abaddon, and would uproot all my increase. If I have despised the claim of my male or female slaves, when they file the complaint against me, what then could I do when God arises? And when he calls me to account, what will I answer him? Did not he who made me in the womb make him, and the same one fashion us in the womb? If I have kept the poor from their desire, or have caused the eyes of the widow to fail, or have eaten my morsel alone, and the orphan has not shared it, but from my youth he grew up with me as with a father, and from infancy I guided her. If I have seen anyone perish for lack of clothing, or that the needy had no covering, if his loins have not thanked me, and if he has not been warmed with the fleece of my sheep, if I have lifted up my hand against the orphan, because I saw I had support in the gate, let my shoulder fall from the socket, and let my arm be broken off at the elbow. For calamity from God is a terror to me, and because of his majesty I can do nothing. If I have put my confidence in gold, and called fine gold my trust, if I have gloated because my wealth was great, and because my hand had secured so much, if I have looked at the sun when it shone, or the moon going in splendor, and my heart became secretly enticed, and my hand threw a kiss from my mouth, that too would have been an iniquity calling for judgment, for I would have denied God above. Have I rejoiced at the extinction of my enemy, or exulted when evil befell him? No, I have not allowed my mouth to sin, by asking for his life in a curse. Have the men of my tent not said, who can find one who has been satisfied with his meat? The alien has not lodged outside, for I have opened my doors to the traveler. Have I covered my transgressions like Adam, by hiding my iniquity in my bosom? Because I feared the great multitude, and the contempt of families terrified me, and kept silent and did not go out of doors? Oh, that I had one to hear me! Behold, here is my signature. Let the Almighty answer me. And the indictment which my adversary has written, surely I would carry it on my shoulder. I would bind it to myself like a crown. I would declare to him the number of my steps. Like a prince I would approach him. If my land cries out against me, and its furrows weep together, if I have eaten its fruit without money, or have caused its owners to lose their lives, let briars grow instead of wheat, and stinkweed instead of barley. The words of Job are ended. I'm hoping that just means that Job just stopped talking. Now his friends are going to be all like, oh, you think you're so much better. Blah, 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 blah. Job really needs new friends. Also, he probably needs a new wife. She seems a little cranky. In the middle of all the accusations, Job declared that he was not a sinner and that his conscience was clear. How could he make this claim? Job was not claiming to be perfect, neither was he belittling his need for God's redemption. He was simply saying that he had lived a righteous life before God. As a result, his conscience was clear. Outward circumstances are not always an accurate indicator of a person's relationship with God. Some people who are blessed with health, power, or wealth are not righteous. Conversely, some people who are sick, poor, or powerless are righteous in God's eyes. Job's friends were wrong to assume that his suffering was a result of sin. We must be careful not to make the same mistake that Job's friends made. We can't claim to have sinless lives, but we can claim forgiven lives. When we confess our sins to God, he forgives us. Then we too can live with a clear conscience. Be slow to judge others and make it your goal to keep a clear conscience before God. This is a lot of lessons about judgments, which everybody and their mother does. All of us do this, okay? And then they always throw it back and say, judge us, let us not you be judged. Well, yeah. That's why I'm calling you out. That was a good read. A good read. Not a whole lot to add onto that one, really. I mean, I know it's hard for us to not judge people. You know, we have our opinions of people when you first see them and when you first, you know, it's how we kind of assess a situation too. There's nothing wrong with having, you know, a first impression of somebody necessarily. But when somebody is going through hardships, we're always like, oh, what did you do to deserve that? Right? Like we see that online a lot. And there's a lot of judgment there from people who claim to be, but just like Job's friends, they claim to be followers of God, but they're automatically assuming that he did something wrong and that he must have sinned so greatly for everything horrible to be happening to him. And sometimes, sure, yeah, you did sin greatly and you're getting your comeuppance, but there are times bad things happen to all kinds of people. Bad things happen to good people, bad things happen to bad people, bad things happen to the innocent, bad things happen to not the innocent. Like, the world is going to world. I think I said this an episode or two ago. The world is going to do what the world is going to do. And unfortunately, we get caught up in the middle. And so we have to have our conscience be clear. Like, we're not perfect. Nobody is perfect. We all have sins. I have sins that God has forgiven me for. I have sins that I still do to this day that I'm like, oh, God. You're trying to do your best and you're trying to live your life as righteous as possible. And you ask for forgiveness and you change your ways and you break your habits, and it can be hard. And we all know what that's like. So the fact that we always come at people so hard and judge them so hard is really just a proof that we still sin in all kinds of different ways, you know? So that's the end of that. That's episode 113. And now Job has stopped talking. So we get to hear from his friends now. Cool. Yay. Can't wait. Thank you guys for hanging out with me for this episode. Before I let you go today on this wonderful Friday, let's bow our heads in a brief prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you, God, so much for being with us as we read more of Job's story today. God, I pray today that those of us that are quick to judge others, just as Job's friends are, and we are quick to assume, and we are quick to throw accusations out there when people are suffering or people are going through it, that we instead are reminded of Job, and we take a step back and we assess the situation and we become more understanding and realize that we all have bad things happen to us no matter what our circumstances are, and that we need to band together in our faith and our love for you and stand by each other and make sure that we bring comfort and sympathy and understanding to each other when we all go through bad things instead of throwing accusations around. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you guys so much once again, and I'll see you tomorrow for episode 114. God bless you all. There he goes every time. Bye.